All right. Hello, everyone. This is Terri Strange, and we're here for our first installment of Strange Conversations. Today, we're going to be talking to Bee from FeministKnits. She is an amazing craftswoman who has such skills at instarsia patterns and has an amazing yarn stash. So, she makes feminist themed fiber art and actually has a shop where you can purchase it. So I want to talk to her kind of about her creative process tonight and some of her opinions about, being a creative feminist in a world that wants us to be robotic non-feminists. So, Bee, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great, and I'm so thankful that you're here talking to me tonight, and it's just great to, kind of talk to you some more, because, I wouldn't call myself a fiber artist yet, but, obviously I admire your work greatly, and if it weren't so darn hot where I lived, I would just be buying everything that you have, because it's so good. It's still 90 degrees here, every day, so just
wow,
even handle it. That's why I'm in a tank top. So, I think the first thing I kind of wanted to talk to you about was just feminism in general, so how you define feminism for yourself and how you implement it, in your life, how long you've been a feminist, kind of your feminist journey. I would love to kind of just talk to you about that to begin with, and then kind of talk to you more about what you do.
Okay, yeah, cool. Well, for me, I think I define feminism as just really focusing energy and dedicating your time to other women and making their lives easier and better. And I think obviously mostly feminism for me is about women's liberation from patriarchy and the male domination that we all suffer under. And so I think, what's most important for me is to just listen and talk with other women and to sort of see what we can actually do for each other and not always, you know what I mean? And not focus so much on theory all the time, but actually try to make each other's lives better in a way.
Yeah.
That's really what feminist activism is for me, is just what we can do for each other now instead of just kind of whining about it all the time, how much the patriarchy sucks. But that's fun to do too. But yeah. And I guess a lot of feminists, I really kind of got into it in college several years ago. It's been a journey from then, because it was, I think the college atmosphere is really liberal feminist, really embracing the queer thing. And I think I was in college started over 10 years ago, so it's been a while, but even then I think things had started to change from the way that it was. But I've radicalized over the years, I guess, is what I'm trying to get at. And that's where I'm at now.
Yeah. Obviously, I appreciate that about your art as well. You're also a radical feminist, and
yeah,
I definitely have the same kind of understanding of needing to really focus on making women's lives better in the here and now. So I kind of shy away from the complaining as much anymore, because it's exhausting,
Yeah.
There's one level where it's important to speak your truth and to talk about the bad things that have happened, and then we have to really be okay, well, what do we do about it now? How do we actually change anything for ourselves? And I'm trying to I don't know, facilitate that with other women too. So I'm glad you're kind of on the same page there.
Yeah.
It's always good to do that.
Yeah.
So, I I've seen your stuff. What else was I going to ask you? I wanted to ask you, like, when you kind of started, like, with the whole, you make these, like, really amazing feminist-themed hats, mainly, that I just adore. So I wanted to ask you, like, when you got started doing that and, like, what kind of inspired you to just do that? Like, what came into your mind to start making these hats?
Well, I really got into knitting about 5 years ago. And as soon as I got into it, like, I knew immediately that I wanted to learn how to do colorwork knitting, which is what I really do.
Yeah.
Because, like, when I would look at magazines and books and stuff, it was just what I was drawn to. I was like, that is obviously the best thing in this magazine. I need to learn how to make that. And so I started making other people's patterns at first until I was more comfortable with it. And then I realized that fiber art is really this just amazing medium where you can to express yourself in, because it's like not only can you make it beautiful just to look at, but it's also functional. So, which I think is really cool and lends itself really well to feminism, because it's like what I make is what I like to call wearable feminist art.
Yeah.
So, I think it's just a really cool and unique way to use fiber art, because you can. The hats are just, I don't know, they're kind of like a billboard. You can put anything on them, and it's just. I've just felt really passionately about feminism for just ages now, and it was the first thing that came to me. Like, of course I would knit feminist hats. Of course I would.
Yeah, I can get that. Yeah, everything I do is kind of like that as well. Like, anytime I have a wild hair about doing anything, it's like, how does this relate to feminism?
Yeah,
of course,
exactly.
or feminism is the reason that I want to do it. It's interesting how it, like, causes us to, get so inspired and creative, if we are drawn to that. So I think more broadly, I also wanted to talk to you about, like, how you see feminist art, like, how it, like, interacts with the culture and community at large. Like, do you have reactions to people when you're wearing your hats, and have you gotten feedback from others who've gotten your hats? And how do you see it making an impact that way?
Yeah, I mean, like, when you're wearing stuff like this, I mean, a lot of people, I mean, most people aren't really going to comment on whatever it is you're wearing, but I find that it is kind of, they're really great conversation starters, especially if you come upon someone who is like-minded, because then it's like a magnet, and they're like, oh my god, your hat, where did you get it? I love it. Or if they're a knitter, they'll talk to me about it and ask if I've made it. But yeah, so I think that's another part of, the wearable feminist art thing. It's like, it's not art in a gallery that you can just kind of ignore. The people who don't care about it can just ignore. Like, it's kind of like it's walking down the street. It's like it's the lady in front of you in the coffee shop in line. She might have like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's what I think is really great about it, and that it's just kind of like, I don't want to say like in your face art for feminism, for my hats in particular, but that is one thing I like about it. But feminist art, just in general, I think I really like the DIY aspect of it, and not just like in knitting. It's just, there's just all kinds of ways that you can do it. Like the zine culture in particular is really cool, and it's just so accessible. Like, girls and women and just anybody can just rip up some magazines and put some stuff together.
You can swear. My channel's full of swears.
Cool. Yeah, and I mean, like, it's just so cool, because you can just like make a collage, and like that's, that you've just made some feminist art, and And I really love that. And honestly, I think this is a bit more controversial maybe with radical feminists, but even the like cutesy, flowery, you know, like digital art that a lot of younger women are making and like posting on Tumblr and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a fan of that too, because, you know, even if it is really like, even if some of it is really into like the choicey feminism that isn't really gonna do anything, like at least I think I'm really kind of glad for its existence, because I feel like that kind of thing, like the pretty image and like the empowering words, it's kind of what attracts younger women to feminism, I think, in a lot of ways. And so, and like what really gets them thinking about these issues, and like I'm kind of fine with that, because I kind of trust women to learn more about things that they're interested in. So if they get in just because it's pretty and it looks cool, that's cool. I mean, they'll learn more about it and radicalize with time, like most of us do, I think.
Yeah. I definitely love a lot of the Tumblr art, to be honest. Like, they're just pastel colors and pizza and cupcakes, which appeals to me, you know, as a fat girl. But
yeah. Too.
But yeah, and then like really juxtaposed with like, even if it is a message that I find problematic, I do find it at least humorous. And actually, I think women being creative is always important, because so often like we have that really drilled out of us, you know. I've talked about that on my channel before. Like, when I was a kid, I was really interested in art, and like there's just no support. Like, but boys would constantly be getting support. Art teachers were all at them. Like, I've only had a couple like art teachers, and I pursued art. That's the thing. But I still had all this like backlash and stuff. So it's just interesting. I know I'm not the only girl that's had that problem though too, because, you know, I've met a lot of other girls that have talked about that with me. But like, you have these guys just like copying down, you know, manga magazines and stuff, and oh, he's amazing, and just like, but there isn't really that space for it. So for girls to really claim that and to do that in their free time, I think is important. And, you know, it's about keeping your spirit alive in a lot of ways, which, yeah, society just wants to kill it.
Yeah, for real. And like, you know, I think feminist art in particular has like a responsibility that a lot of other art doesn't, you know, and that's for like showing women's lives and our bodies and thoughts and like beauty and troubles and, you know, fucked upness. Because yeah, like you were saying, like in a world that just pretends that like none of that, like our lives and our complexities don't matter, you know, like, so like this is really one of the only places that we can show all that, you know? And so any kind of activism or any kind of effort to try to shut that down, like especially, you know, the whole turf witch hunts things that are going on. Like it's just infuriating, you know, because it's just another way to silence women, and I just won't stand.
Yeah, believe me, I've dealt with a lot of it.
Yeah,
I mean, having a YouTube channel has been an interesting experience for that, because I get a whole, like, other segment of society, like, coming at me that I think a lot of other feminists that, like, maybe use Tumblr or Twitter, or even, like, the ones that go and get into flame wars on Facebook, like, they don't experience the same kind of, like, random people that I get hating on me, like, so in a way I've kind of avoided a lot of the like turf thing that like has come out, but I've gotten like this I get like a lot more of the like creepy like atheist community weirdos like angry about my views about porn because they're all porn addicts, or
right.
Yeah, so I don't know, like, but that's like kind of in the past. I luckily haven't been targeted in a while. I do occasionally get like I created like a Facebook page for myself, just for Terry Strange, right? And haven't really updated or anything, but immediately as soon as I created it, I had like some Turf Watch people coming on it. So it is something to like really kind of look at how immediate and like they're obviously monitoring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's terrifying, and because it is like a modern day witch hunt. It's any woman that dares to be like, you know, the whole Jermaine Greer thing that's going on right now. Like, it's incredible to me how much her contributions and her just everything that she's done is just completely overlooked by people who are just like, yeah, well, she's a TERF though, so whatever. It just blows my mind.
Yeah.
Like,
I wish she was.
Say what?
I wish she was too, because she's not like, you don't even have to be a radical feminist, like, and that's the really disturbing thing, because it's then like lumping us a lot of the times in with people that we have nothing really in common with. Not, of course, we have a lot in common with Jermaine Greer. Not trying to distance myself, but like, I would call her a women's liberationist, but like some of her views are not in line with like radical feminism, so it makes no sense to call her a TERF.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's just a label that's just being slapped on any woman who says something problematic, you know, and it's just a silencing tactic, and it works, which is the scary thing. I mean, like, it's, you know, how, like, it's seeping into modern, like, everyday culture, like, beyond feminism. Like, it's on people.com, you know, the cis and trans thing. Like, and I hate to admit that I go on people.com, but I do sometimes. But, like, it seeps into stuff like that, and it's just, and it blows my mind, and it just makes me feel insane that more people aren't realizing this or seeing it for what it is, like we do.
Have you, like, experienced any backlash, like, online from your views, or, like, has it impacted, like people sharing your art, for example?
Yeah, definitely. But I knew that was something that I was going to probably face, if I was going to be open about my radical feminist beliefs and politics, because I knew that it would be a lot easier, and people do sell a lot of like liberal feminist stuff, like hats that say like queer and, you know, he they them pronouns and yeah, it's just like that, and
oh,
they
what
exist.
A horrible hat.
Yeah, oh man, there's so many. But anyway, so I knew that I would be losing some business if I didn't cater to that market. But it was really more important for me to be honest about my feminism, because it's really important to me, and like I really, believe in women, and I just can't pretend that I don't just to sell some hats, like I'm a poor working class struggling woman, and I really could use the money to, if I sold more hats, to, if I were to be dishonest about it, but I just couldn't do that, because I think that's that's one thing that's wrong with feminism today, is that it's just a lot of the bite has been taken out of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of watered down, and I just can't contribute to that. So yeah, I faced a little bit of backlash from that. The most common thing, because I have a Tumblr that I'm kind of active on, and the most common thing that I get is, like, how can you call yourself a feminist? Like, that's the one thing they hone in on.
Yeah.
Because it's FeministKnits. How can you call yourself a feminist if you don't see, trans women as women or whatever? And that's, like, honestly, I feel like that is just such a small part of radical feminism. About, the gender thing of like trans women and that issue. I feel like that's just such a small part of everything that we, believe and do and work for. And so I'm just so bummed that that's what's taking over,
Yeah, it is disappointing. I really do find it annoying as well, because, like, and it's interesting because it's the issue that it's always coming up over and over again. So you do have to talk about it because it's what's constantly brought to you. But it's like, this isn't really my issue or my interest. Like,
Yeah.
I really don't want to talk about creepy men. Like, I'm more interested in, like, women. I mean, so yeah, I totally feel you there. And yeah, I have a Tumblr as well. I don't really use it anymore, but I always would get, like, those random, like, asks when I had a ask box, and it was, how can you call yourself a feminist? It was like, I always wanted to turn around, like, how can you call yourself a feminist if you don't understand basic feminism? Like,
right. Yeah.
or, like, or have any concern for, like, women over men's feelings. Like, I don't understand it, really. So yeah, but I'm glad you're there doing your thing. I think, yeah, I really love Tumblr medium for, like, looking for stuff like fiber art and just all kinds of feminist images. It's such a great medium for that, especially, like, sharing that kind of content. So I guess I wanted to talk to you, since we're kind of getting into this. I think we're kind of getting into this area. Like, you talked about, you know, wanting to help women in our own personal lives and stuff, and I wanted to talk to you kind of about how you would envision a strong feminist community, and, like, what we would do for one another, what it would look like, because I really don't think we have that now, and I really want to talk to a lot of women about this topic, and I don't know, share our ideas, right, maybe get started on it.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. Like, I'm totally a hippie, but so I really kind of just want everyone to get along. Like, I really, the divide between liberal and radical feminism, like, it hurts my heart. Like, you know, just, like, you know, it's not that we have to agree on, like, everything 100%, but I feel like it just should be easier for us to, you know, unite as women, focusing on and fighting for other women. I don't like the divide, but yeah, I think what you were saying kind of before is, like, feminism lives online now, and I really kind of like to see it taken back into the real world. I think that's something that we should maybe, that would be my focus if I didn't live in the middle of nowhere right now. Like, yeah. But if I ever get out of here, and I will, I'm sure, just bringing it back into the real world and having women meet face to face, because just feminism being online, it's just, there's always going to be a disconnect between you and other women. So it's really easy to get into, you know, oh, well, you're lesbophobic because you said this, and you know what I mean? Because it's easier to nitpick all the stupid little shit. But if you're actually looking at the person, you see that, you know, it's just easier to see them as women who are struggling just like you, despite little differences. And, like, how can we help each other together? So, like, you know, like, I want to see feminist book clubs, like, feminist knitting groups, especially, I'm really interested in. Or crochet. I love crochet too. I just don't do it as much.
Yeah, I saw your coasters that you had for sale on your shop. Those were very cute. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love crochet, but I'm not as good at it yet as I am with knitting, but I'm getting there. And, like, especially feminist clubs, like, in schools and stuff, like colleges and high schools. Like, I think that is massively needed. I think that would be amazing. Yeah. And just the meeting face to face, and just, you know, doing things that you enjoy, but still having those conversations, and, like, so, like, what can we do to help women? And, like, you know, whatever that leads to, whether it's, like, you know, gathering, like, menstrual supplies for homeless women and distributing them, just, like, little things, just that can have, like, a real big, like, real world impact. I think that's so that's what I feel feminism needs. That's the direction it needs to go in. Bring the focus back on actual women, and just not these theoretical fights of, like, what makes a person a woman, because honestly, who cares? I just, the whole like trans argument, I'm just so over it. I just want to get back to, like, helping women in the real world.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is. It is you could not come up with a bigger or a more explosive thing to just divide women, because we spend all our time like arguing over like basically men, and then like, I mean, I know when I lived in Portland, Oregon, I had serious trouble trying to integrate into the local feminist community there. Like, I was involved in like, before I became a radical feminist, I was involved in like a Marxist feminist group, and they were just out there. Like, that they were not part of the local feminist community, and they definitely thought they were superior because, of course, they're attached to men and their theories. But that's me bashing them. They did a lot of good work in some ways, so I did appreciate that about them. Like, they were interested in activism, but like, you know, as I became a radical feminist, it was, you know, wanting to go to there were a lot of places where you could go to like there were feminist discussion groups, and men never showed up, really. I don't think there were no trans women that showed up to that, but it always becomes an issue when like you want to organize something. So like when I wanted to organize certain things because of my reputation online or whatever, I'd immediately be getting backlash for it. Even if the event was inclusive of men and women, in many cases, like, it's somehow an issue then. Like, because they just want to force an issue and, like, they don't want to allow, like, a political disagreement within the context. And I think that's really a problem as well. Like, we can't agree to disagree and, like, work together on issues, and that's, like, a real problem as well, because there's so many issues that need to be worked on and so few people actually willing to work on them. So why are we splitting hairs right now?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, like, yeah, it's just that's, you know, and also I was just about to say that's the adult thing to do, is just to agree to disagree. And I think that's a really good point, that a lot of the younger activists who are maybe coming into it, like maybe from queer activism, and they just kind of wrap it all together, they are really young, you know, and so, yeah, I think that's a big part of it too.
Yeah, there is a level of maturity that is lacking, I think, for a lot of them, and they're probably really green behind the ears too, because they haven't like done a lot of activism. It's all theoretical and college based, and where feminism is at in the universities, I don't really know right now. It just seems to be going off in all these like weird tangents because it's not actually tied to any real life movement.
Right.
So, like, there's no material basis for any of it to really ground it or like keep it from, you know, going off in some weird direction, which it has. So I think, you know, that can be forgivable in some ways, but of course there are, you know, there are these like issues with like, I don't know, is it older lesbians organizing for change recently? It's now including like trans women, and you have like very, you know, mature older lesbians like arguing on behalf of these men, and it's like, that is a problem, you know, because there are so few organizations that even work for lesbian issues.
Right.
I mean, it's all, like, really kind of died out as well, because there's, you know, no feminist consciousness in the LGBT whatsoever. So, of course, lesbians aren't going to factor into what gets valued or focused on. And then you see women doing it to themselves. It's just really disappointing. I really like, though, the idea of, like, women meeting and just doing things they like together. There's such a lack of that, I think, not just within feminism, but, like, in the culture at large. And
yeah.
maybe, like, you know, we're suffering from it as well, but I think most people are suffering, you know, just from this lack of community groups and stuff. So I don't know how to do this, though. How do we even get that going? Like, Do you have any ideas?
Well, it's really difficult, but what I've noticed, because I live in like a really small mountain town outside of Asheville, and from what I understand about like Portland and places like that, where it's just, the really queer, liberal, feminist kind of atmosphere, I think that's a lot of what Asheville is too. So
I've heard about Asheville.
Yeah. So I'm not really a part of that, but what I've noticed, like living in this really small town, is that women still, women who are just completely apolitical or even Republican, because there's a lot of them around here, they still like to hang out with other women and do stuff with other women. And, even if it doesn't have, a feminist agenda or it's not informed by feminism, like if you listen to them and stuff, they still say a lot of the same shit we do, but it's just, what I mean? It's just from their experience. It's not from, feminist theory or whatever. So I think that's really interesting. And that's kind of like one way that I kind of sneak feminism to other women who, who like aren't in it already. I just kind of like, yeah, it's really fucked up when men do that, isn't it? It's like, it's the patriarchy. And just, because I think it's really like, oh, okay. Sorry, my computer did something weird.
Hey, it happens.
Like, I think like in those situations, like, just actually like listening to women in all situations, it's not just the women that you agree with or that who believe the same thing, but like, in feminism, but just listening to women. And, because if we're serious about, what we say about feminism and how we want liberation for all women, that means the Republican women. That means like the homophobic women that go to church every Sunday. Not, like they're not my focus, but, they're, how they're treated in the patriarchy matters too. And, so living in a small town, I sort of get I get to interact with them a lot more than I do other feminists, and especially feminists my age. I'm almost 30, if that matters. So I think that's kind of one way. Like, it's like, I don't think that I'm going to turn like a Wednesday night women's Bible study group into like a feminist book discussion. But I think that is a way to connect with women, at least a start of a way to connect with women in the real world. To just sort of talk to them and listen and, see like what kind of needs to be done, in activism, since feminists are the ones who want or who believe that we should be doing some sort of activism. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's the way that we could start it. I don't know. That's just been my experience here in this little place.
Yeah. I'm having kind of similar experiences to you because I'm living in a small town now as well, and it's like, it is a struggle because people have like Bible studies at every freaking coffee shop, and like, it is a little intense, and like people who wouldn't look twice at me, like, living elsewhere, like, kind of look at me a little funny. And I'm just like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, but definitely there is I think in some ways because of that, there is like more of a tendency for like women to have women's groups here. Like I notice women like work out together in big groups and they like have discussion groups, or they have, like I have noticed there is like some sort of knitting group like in town as well that I might check out, and there's stuff like that. So there are these avenues. I mean, I think, yeah, I like what you're talking about, where we kind of just like listen to. In a lot of ways, you learn a lot, I think, from interacting with women who aren't feminists as well, because like it can really show you like what women are dealing with who haven't really maybe thought about these things, like in the way, or, I've been removed from a lot of stuff, patriarchal, like, oppression, because I've chosen to remove myself from situations where I have to interact with men. So,
Me too.
Not completely, obviously, but, like, for the most part, like, it's not part of my life anymore, so I don't deal with that, like, stuff. But, for the average woman, that's not really a thing, so you can always, like, give them little bits of advice as well, and they're like, you don't have to do that, or stuff like that. Just, it is I think, a good thing, if you're available to do that. And also you can learn about just how those things are organized. So maybe it's like, I don't know, I mean, when the women's liberation movement started, I don't think the women necessarily that were going to events and meetings were feminists. They were just regular women talking about their lives. So, I mean, that is something kind of important to think about. Is it necessarily, do we necessarily need to have a bunch of women meeting that are all on the same page, or can it just be, like, more important to just get women together and talking about their experiences? I think you bring up a really good point there. So, yeah. I don't know. I did want to talk to you about, like, I don't know, how you view yourself in terms of, like, building a future feminist community, or the current feminist community, how you contribute to that with your fiber art and your, like, web presence.
Wow. Well, I mean, I think the most, like, the main form of activism that I do is, my knitting, the wearable feminist art, as I like to call it. Living in a small town like I do, and I just don't really have that many resources to meet with as many women as I'd like to. So that is why I do a lot of stuff. And I am kind of active on Tumblr, and, like, I don't know, I just kind of, I feel like if you're in a situation like I am, where, I really can't really connect with that many people or women in public, just because I don't really have the resources and I don't live in the right area, just being, like, authentically myself online as much as I can be, because I do operate anonymously because of the hate that radical feminists get. But I do think it is really important to, like, be honest with each other about our struggles, as women, and like, with feminism too. Like, I don't, I feel like, especially online, there's, like, a tendency, or maybe, I'm not sure, but, like, maybe people feel a need to sort of act like they know everything about feminism, and then they really understand it all. Like, oh yeah, I've read that book, and I've done that, and, like, I just sort of feel like it's alright to admit that you don't know stuff. It's cool. Like, that's how you learn. And I'm really into being authentic, and with each other, like, with women especially, like, like, it's alright to admit you don't know stuff. Like, hang out with, I'm a really big supporter of hanging out with older women. Like, my neighbor is about, like, I think she's 65 years old, and she's the best friend I have here. We hang out all the time. And do
that
stuff
sounds
together.
amazing,
And, like,
yeah.
she is the farthest thing from a feminist that could ever be. Like, she's really religious, and I'm not even sure she knows I'm a lesbian. I don't really know, but, like, none of that really matters, because, like, it's just really connecting with another woman on that level, like, we just know the kind of thing that we both have to go through in this patriarchal world. And, we don't really have to be on the same page politically or religiously or ideologically to recognize that in each other, And, like, I feel like that, I don't know, that's the kind of thing that I want to bring. Like, I feel like the peacemaker. I don't always, like, manage to keep my temper, but I really try. And, like, that's what I mean. Like, I want everybody to get along. Like, yeah, our differences are important and stuff, but, like, that we don't have to let them keep us apart, especially when, the aim of feminism, I think, is to improve shit for women, all women, and, like, I think that's a bigger, more important focus than just ourselves and what's keeping us apart from our neighbor just because they, you know what I mean? I don't know. That's how I feel.
Definitely. I mean, our movement could use a lot more hippie types.
Yeah.
Or like, yeah, or women who can disagree, because I find that's like such a problem. Like,
yeah. Like, it's just, there's such a culture of just like, well, just fuck you if you don't see it this, the way that I do. And just like, where does that get anyone?
yeah.
You're just burning bridges left and right. And, there's a difference between not liking someone because they just rub you the wrong way, and then just cutting everyone off if they don't see things exactly the way that you do. That's just nowhere. It's just not going to get you anywhere, and it's just no way to be an activist, I think.
Yeah, I agree. That's it's just weird. Yeah, I mean, I understand like that a lot of women have, I don't know, they probably feel very, I mean, the one thing that we have as radical feminists specifically is that we have a lot of women who are survivors of male violence or like serious trauma in our movement. So I think sometimes, like, because of that and because of the lack of resources for women in that situation, a lot of times all they have is their like internet safe space to really express themselves. So I do understand like why some of them get that way to a certain point, but like I don't know. It does bother me that like there is this like lack of ability to disagree and like still be respectful, or I don't know. I am a pretty polarizing figure because I have pretty extreme radical feminist views, but like I also am like at the same time pretty depolarized myself and actually like can totally tolerate anyone like disagreeing with me. It's not a big deal to me. So it's always really humorous to me, like, to provoke these strong interactions and just be like, I don't know. Sorry, I guess, that you're offended, but I'm not going to agree with you just because that's wrong.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, from my perspective and having, like, those experiences, like, I just think, like, yeah, there's just, when we have so much in common, so often, there's just no reason to, unless somebody, like, actually harms you or wrongs you or someone that you care about, I don't really see the point in, like, bickering or holding anger towards other women. It's not really productive.
Yeah.
Especially when there's so much anger to hold at men, so it's like...
Right. And that's my whole thing. Like, if I'm not gonna hold on to that much. I mean, like, I have a lot of anger for men. I just
It's okay.
I have a lot of anger for men. But like, and I try, if I'm gonna get angry about something, it's gonna be at a man. I'm not gonna waste my time being angry with women. I'm just not gonna do it. It's just, I feel like, with feminism, I think, one of the main differences between liberal feminism and radical, and this, and radical feminism is that liberal feminism is about, yourself and your choices and all that, and radical feminism is about women as a larger population. And so looking at it that way, I just don't have time to quibble with one or two women, or, just a group of, or like this particular subset of women who say things that I don't like. I'd much rather focus that anger and send those bad vibes to men than I would other women. For sure.
Well, I hope we've given some people things to think about with this conversation. I like the turn it's taken here. We're talking about this. I'm glad you're hippie. That's good.
Thanks.
The world needs more. It's just it's a very hostile place out there.
Yeah.
I think the last thing I wanted to bring up before we kind of go like for a free-for-all at the end and just have our closing statements and stuff is I wanted to like ask you about advice that you might have for other women who are interested in like creating either fiber art or feminist art in general, or maybe even want to start their own shops, but don't really know like or have any idea how to get started. So
Yeah.
would love to know what advice you have for them out there.
Sure. Well, I think my first piece of advice would be to just stop listening to the voice in your head that tells you that, you know, you don't have any talent or artistic ability, because like I wrestled with that for a long time. Like I thought that I had no talent or no artistic ability because I can't draw or paint or any of the, you know, the typical or more classic art. I just have no talent for that. But it was just that I hadn't found my medium, which is playing with yarn. For some reason, like playing with yarn, whether knitting or crochet, it just really speaks to me. And so like I feel like that would be my biggest piece of advice, is just you know, if you haven't found that thing that you like to do artistically, it's to just put on music and just do whatever, like rip up magazines, put collages together, you know, doodle, learn to knit off of YouTube. That's what a lot of people do now. Just, I mean, make stuff with Play-Doh. Just, I mean, like, whatever. Like, if all you do is just get a piece of sidewalk chalk and just leave Venus symbols, like, all over town, like, that would be one really awesome thing to do, you know? And, like, other women would see that and Instagram the shit out of it. And then, like, hey, maybe that's the way that you could meet other feminists in your area, is just follow your tag or something. If you did something like that, you know? Just, you know, and, like, and I feel like, yeah, it's just put on some music and just do stuff. Like, don't let the fear of, I'm not good enough, this really sucks, I don't know if anybody would buy this. Just do it anyway. You'll be surprised, I think.
Yeah. I'm so glad to hear you talk about that, like, struggle with not feeling like that you have any talent or anything, because, like, so many women have that problem, and it stops so many from, like, pursuing things that they know. We all know what we were put here to do as people, I feel. Like, we know what our passions are. We know what's going to make us happy. We know the directions we need to go in to do that. So, like, we so often, like, shut ourselves down with that, like, socialized kind of behavior, like, oh no, you can't step out of the box, you gotta live a normal life, you gotta do this, and, you know, we think you have to be some sort of, like, I don't know, great recognized talent or something, even though a lot of them aren't even that talented themselves, or probably even struggle with the same kind of stuff, because I have heard, like, recently I was learning about this thing called Impostor Syndrome, where, like, a lot of people who, especially women, I mean, most of the people who struggle with this are women, like, who either get famous from their creative process or, like, from stuff like that, or get recognition for it, like, feel like they're frauds, or, like, they shouldn't be, you know, getting all this attention and praise. Like, one really famous woman who struggles with this is, like, Maya Angelou. Like, she struggled for years with thinking she was a fraud after she was, like, this best-selling author. And, like, she's obviously brilliant. So, you know, you can't let that stop you. And I really appreciate you talking about that. And, like, you are so talented. Like, just from somebody who knows how to knit, like, looking at your stuff, I can't do it. I can't do Instarja. Like, I can't. I could if I applied myself. I will say that I can do it if I applied myself. No doubt, I'm sure I could figure it out, but my attempts at it have been so frustrating.
It's the thing, though. Like, that's the thing about, you know, that's another thing, like, about with, like, starting out in art and stuff. Like, I think a lot of people think that if they're not immediately good at it, that it's not meant for them. But, like, you know, I had to make so much ugly shit before I could get to, you know, where I am now, being able to make pretty decent looking stuff. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, if it's something that you like, and you know, with me, and when I saw this kind of knitting, I was like, yeah, I need to learn. I'm gonna learn how to do that. Like, if you have something like that where you're like, yeah, I really want to learn how to do that, then just don't let anything stop you. That, I mean, if you can help it, you know, there's always going to be some sort of money restraint, but
oh yeah, especially with yarn.
Yeah, yarn is. People would be really surprised to find out how expensive yarn can be.
I know the struggle.
Oh man,
oh,
yeah. But yeah, like I feel so passionately about women doing, you know, what they're passionate about, and yeah, and I don't like. I saw some quote, and it was like, God give me the, what was it? The
confidence
of a mediocre white man. And like, I just really ought to write that down and stick it up on my wall, because that's just a really good thing to remember. Like, you know, dudes are just really, you know, mediocre and just think that they're the shit. And women have to just perform at such a higher level of excellence to get even, you know, and my girlfriend and I were talking about this the other day, like, this is kind of off topic, but like male knitwear designers, you know, like, you know, the most basic, I don't want to say ugly stuff, but it's just really basic and common, and just people fawn over it just because they're male designers in a female dominated field, you know, and so like, you know, and it's just that kind of thing. So, you know, if you're a woman and you have some sort of passion, it's probably amazing, and you should just rock it and just go with it, because it's totally going to be better than stuff dudes are doing. Always.
Definitely. Yeah, and if you like doing it, you should just do it because, you know, YOLO.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, well, I mean, that kind of covered everything I wanted to talk to you about when I, like, you know, kind of first contacted you. But I was wondering if there was, like, you know, since you're here, if there was anything else you kind of wanted to talk about, since it's a different platform for you and you could reach a different audience and talk about any ideas you have or any feminist issues that you think we should be talking about, or if you had any responses to anything that's, like, happened in the news, or maybe talk to me about anything you want to talk to me about.
Well, yeah.
Not putting on the spot, but
no, I just no, I don't really have anything to add. Yeah, I thought you asked me really great questions, and like, I'm really I'm just really glad to finally get the opportunity to talk to you, because I've watched your videos for a while now, so it's pretty cool. And like and like, I think it's really neat because, like, when you search, you know, feminism on YouTube, like you were saying earlier, it's an entirely different world than like Tumblr, because there's some semblance of a feminist community on Tumblr and maybe even like Twitter and stuff like that. But like YouTube, it is just by searching, it's just dominated by anti-feminist garbage, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And like, and just totally uneducated and just hateful, and like, you're one of the only like sane like feminist accounts on YouTube that I've seen.
Oh, thank you.
And also I really love your tarot deck, like unboxing things. Those are awesome.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Yeah. I need to do more of that. I need to do everything, but yeah. Yeah. It is a very interesting, like, space to be on, and I would love to bring more women to YouTube. And I'm always surprised, like, that's why I made that face when you were telling me you watch my videos. I don't know who watches my videos, or if any of the other radical feminists are watching my videos, because a lot of women don't comment, because, of course, YouTube's a pretty hostile place to comment, and I don't really have the time to moderate my comment section like a lot of other people do. Like, I used to be a lot more on it, but I don't have the time, like, really, or the energy to, because it's always a struggle with, do I block this person? I will block for certain things being said, just anything over the line, but, like, I don't know. So I don't know. It's like it's a hard place to have a community, like, and YouTube is changing its format a lot of ways. So what used to be easier to have a community, it's not the same anymore. There there are different, like, subcultures. And we definitely used to have more of a radical feminist community on YouTube, but obviously political disagreements and all drama stuff happens. So a lot of women that used to be on YouTube aren't, and I'm like, the last one standing.
Yeah, I really admire, like, your ability to just be, like, on video and just like, yeah, this is me and I'm a radical feminist and I believe these things and fuck you otherwise, you know, and like, I just really admire that because, yeah, it's really scary to be, especially to me, like
Oh, it is.
like,
I've been recognized too, so.
Have you?
Yeah.
That would be terrifying to me.
It is.
Yeah.
Luckily, like, I don't think most of the people would. I've never had anyone recognize me and had it turn out to be a hateful person, but.
Oh, good.
Yeah. I definitely have had people, like, who, like, live in the town I lived in, like, when I lived in Portland, like, threatening me and, like, yeah, stuff like that. So it's, yeah, I think, I wish more women would, like, put that out there, because, like, you know, I understand why they don't, though, because it is, there's one thing about anonymity that is good, because I think you can, I mean, a lot of women who otherwise would be tempering what they say because of fear of retribution,
mm-hmm.
you know, are able to say what they think, and that's so important. I don't fault women for being anonymous, but I do wish more women would, like, step forward and come out and, like, be visual and, like, you know, be non-anonymous, because that's important too. We can't be viewed as, like, a bunch of anonymous trolls or something like that. Like, you know,
yeah.
we're actual people, like, and I don't know. I mean, for me, it was, like, too late at some point. Like, I was really young when I started the YouTube channel. I was in my early 20s, and I'm 29 now. So, like, I was naive. Yeah, we're the same age. So yeah, like, I was young, so I didn't think about a lot of these things, and I wasn't even a radical feminist when I started the channel. Like, you can see I've had a big political progression. I mean, this isn't even my first channel. My first channel got hacked, and that's a whole other thing. I had someone hack my first channel, and, like, I had two channels. Like, I had a backup channel where I did poetry, like, my poetry I uploaded, and that one got hacked, and the person who hacked it uploaded pornography to it. And so that channel got terminated, and because the other channel, Nuclear Night, was attached to that, like, they have the same email address, like, both have been locked out of YouTube, and I've tried contacting them, but I can't get my channel back. So, yeah, I mean, I've definitely been on a big progression, and so obviously for me, I think it's too late now, and I have to be out because I am, but, like, you know, there are a lot of things that one has to contend with. So, you know, if there are any brave women out there listening, there are, you know, YouTube channel, you could start one. That I will help mentor you if you need.
Yeah. I wish that I was, maybe if I were in a better, like, more solid financial situation, you know, like,
oh yeah,
I had a good job and didn't have to worry that I was going to get fired for being a TERF or something. Like, maybe if I ever get to that situation, maybe then I'll do one too.
Yeah, or I don't know, hopefully, like, your online business will take off and you have, like, orders coming in constantly, and then you've got to, like, raise the prices, and then you're, like, set making art for life and make your money that way. Then you can be independent.
Yeah,
so
that would be.
Yeah. So I hope people, like, watching this check out, you know, Bee's shop and go make a purchase, because I think there was some stuff on sale too when I was looking earlier this week, and it looked pretty good. You can get a really cool hat for a good price. So, yeah. Yeah, that is another thing. I mean, that's something that you have to think about. But, I mean, obviously I'm in a similar position. Like, I don't have great job. You know, I have a pretty low paying job in my personal life, and you know, I have my own creative business stuff, which, like, you know, helps bring in more money. And then I also have, like, my other projects that I do. Like, I am learning a lot about business, and I do want to have my own business eventually, because it's important to me to be able to say the things that I want to say, and not be, like, having ever to worry about, like, being shut up because of worrying about my, you know, my financial situation possibly getting destroyed or something. And I think that's really messed up, you know, that women even have to worry about that, because, I mean, men on YouTube constantly, like, say horrendous things and do not face any consequences financially. And, of course, you know, I don't know. I mean, it's just there's this such double standard with, like, how women are treated and the kind of fear we have to live in. And it's messed up. So, hopefully, I'm going to change all that.
Yeah. Well, you know, did you, not to, like, bring something up before we're about to wrap up, but did you hear about the Wake Life thing in Asheville, the coffee shop that got shut down? Because the two dudes that owned it just said just really nasty, misogynistic stuff about women online.
Oh, no.
Yeah, Asheville. It was so awesome. Like, there was these two guys, I can't remember their names, but they owned Waking Life Espresso. It's a coffee shop in West Asheville. And they got outed as just being just really just predators, really, of local women. And they, like, podcasted and wrote about their sexual exploits with women, and they were outed, and the town, like, rallied and shit, and, like, got them shut down and ran them out of town.
That's
it was
awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, so, like, that's really the only thing that I can think of happening recently where, like, men have had to actually answer for the stupid shit they say about women online, you know, where there's actually been penalty. So that was rad.
That is good. I'm glad to hear that, and I'm glad it was, like, somewhere close to where you are.
Yeah, I was really excited.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm just amazed at that. I mean, recently, like this week, I know that one of my subscribers was targeted by the YouTube atheist Thunderfoot. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's, like, really, really popular. He makes, like, $3,000+ a video, like, every time he uploads a video, because he had some sort of account, which I'm going to look into getting one of those accounts where people can just pledge every time you, like, make a video, see if anyone wants to pay me. But, I mean, like, I've got, like, YouTube AdSense and stuff, but I've never even received a paycheck for it. Like, honestly, like, there's less than $100 I've ever made on this channel from that sort of thing. So, but he's got, like, I don't know how many subscribers, an insane amount. His videos get tons of views, and if you make a certain number of views, like, for your videos, you will be getting money every month. So he's basically being paid by Google to send, okay, so this is what happened. This woman, and I don't think she should have done this, to be honest. So if you're watching Laughing Witch, I'm not trying to talk crap about you, but she did write to his work, but she wasn't the only one. There were a ton of, like, YouTube atheists that, like, wrote to this guy's work. He's a scientist or something, and complained about, like, his behavior online, so, which is pretty vile. He, like, consistently is one of the people attacking Anita Sarkeesian. That's the one. He's, like, part of the Gamergate thing. I don't follow that stuff. I don't know. I don't really care about the whole Gamergate thing, to be honest. It's not of interest to me, but he's one of the players in that. So he makes videos viciously attacking her, and, of course, Google pays him every time he has video because his subscriber count, the AdSense, all of it. So he basically, one of the women who wrote to his company, he dropped her docs, and basically her business Yelp page, and encouraged his, like, followers or subscribers to, like, leave fraudulent reviews of her business. So that's been happening this week, and like, from what I understand, she's like, I don't know, she's really concerned about her business, and like, it's obviously been pretty traumatizing for her, and people are even calling the business and harassing them. And this is like a business she runs with her husband, and like, they actually have employees, so like, this, what he's doing is like potentially affecting like her employees. Like, he's not just hurting her, he's like hurting like her family and her employees, all because like of this kind of scenario. He obviously wasn't fired from his job because they know he's an asshole. So yeah, so basically that's what we contend with. And
yeah.
Anyway, I don't know. That's something that's happening here. So I'm hoping, though, like, that he does receive some backlash from this, and that, you know, at least the account, like, I know people are reporting his account where, like, he gets the $3,000 pledged, that account. I think people are trying to shut that down because he did break the terms of service by doxing someone and encouraging fraud. So I don't know, but like, that's YouTube, that's the internet here, and it's a sad thing.
Yeah, it seems like for every one story we hear about where something actually went right, like Waking Life getting shut down, there's like a million more of stuff like that, and it's just, we got a long way to go. Yeah.
I hope they didn't name their coffee shop after that, like, awful movie.
I don't know what the inspiration was.
That sounds like something a couple of misogynists would do.
Yeah, probably.
Oh. All right. Well, I think it's time to wrap up here, because this has been a long conversation and it's been awesome, but like, obviously we want to keep it to a good time and all that. So, do you have any closing comments or statements for the YouTube family here?
Well, no, just to you. Thank you for reaching out to me. Like, I've never really done anything like this before, so it was really cool, and I'm honored that you asked.
Well, I'm really grateful that you agreed, and I'm honored to like have the conversation with you and to pick your brain, and I just appreciate it a lot, because it's obviously, like, I don't know, I feel like it's just kind of more about building the whole online feminist community in a way too, and kind of supporting each other in what we do. So I really appreciate what you do, and I'm glad you're here too and had this conversation with me. So I'm glad we're both happy with it.
Yeah, it's been awesome.
All right, well, take care, and everyone in the audience, I would say don't forget to click the like button. Check out Bee's shop, and I will leave a link for her Tumblr blog and her Twitter account in the info box. I don't even know what we call it anymore. There have been so many like names that we've had over the years for it. And be sure to subscribe for more awesome strange conversations in the future.